Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's Career Chat. I'm Krista Harmon, a workforce development consultant with the Kent Intermediate School District, and I'm so delighted to have Nicole Hines with us today. She is a journeyman Steamfitter with our local 174. So we get to talk a little bit about union stuff today too. So welcome, Nicole.
Thanks for having me.
So here at Career Chats, we have high school students who are trying to figure out what they want to be when they grow up. And so we'd like to take you back to the high school age. When you were 16, did you think you'd grow up to be a journeyman steamfitter? Tell us what your thoughts were.
Absolutely not. Actually, when I was in high school, I actually wanted to be a high school math teacher. I was very passionate about teaching. I was very passionate about math. I know that sounds weird to most people, but I love my numbers. So I was very passionate about that. So when I was 16, I was very driven to going to college to be a high school math teacher.
So good with math, geeking out about math. Were you in activities in high school? Were you a hands-on kind of person? Tell us about the kind of things
I
you did.
definitely was. I was a 3-sport athlete. So I played basketball, volleyball, and softball. And in the summertime, I did all three, whether it was camps or travel leagues. Very hands-on in that sense. My first 2 years in high school, I was actually also a band geek. So definitely was very busy. And then I was involved just doing art stuff and whatnot. So yeah, very hands-on person, very active, very go. So it was definitely, I liked to create things, but it was, yeah, I was just a very busy high school student. I was a straight A student for the most part. I got a couple B's my freshman year, so I ranked a little bit lower, but I think in a class of, I was roughly around 350. I was number 28, so I wasn't far from the top. So it was definitely very book smart. I did very well in school and it was pretty easy for me. So that's when I was in school, that was okay, where I was in life and the way that I was taught, it was the next step would be college for me. And so I ended up attending Central Michigan University to become a high school math teacher.
So how did that go for you? What was that training like?
Well, yeah, that was fun. So I ended up, I did 4 years and at Central, and have a lot of college debt because of it. But I ended up going and, I got to, just before my student teaching. So you do kind of like a guest teaching, class right before your actual student teaching. So you don't teach, you just kind of shadow the teacher. And I realized then that this was not what I wanted to do, that you couldn't pay me enough money to deal with what teachers have to necessarily go through and do. And I lost my passion. I lost my fire. I mean, I still really liked numbers. I still really liked kids, but just it turned into, this is not what I thought it was going to be. It's not what I want to do. So I ended up dropping out of college, and go, oh no, I have a ton of debt now because 4 years at Central is not cheap. But I have a ton of debt and what am I going to do about that? And I had a conversation with my dad, who is a master plumber in my local. And he was actually at that time, he was the instructor at our hall. And he said, well, realistically, if you want to have a good job with only some college, but no real degree and a high school education, your best bet to make a career would be to join a service or join a trade. Now, I have a lot of respect for the servicemen and women out there, but that is not something I know mentally, physically, I would not be able to handle that lifestyle. So I said, okay, I guess I'll join a trade. So what do you think? And he said, well, the few women welders that I've seen tend to be very successful. And I think you'd have a knack for it. I think you would enjoy it. So I took one more student loan out and I attended Hobart Institute of Welding Technology in Troy, Ohio. And I did their 9-month program and I walked out of there being able to pass UA certification tests. That's not a typical way that people go, but here I am, 23 years old. I'm a little bit older than what normally people would start in the union. And like I said, I knew that I wanted to come in with a skill set. So I invested in myself to get a further education and I chose to go there. And then I went to my hall to apply and try to get in.
Right, we're definitely going to dig into some of that application process, but I'd like to go back just a little bit when you think about your feelings when you were like, realize this teaching thing is not for me, and how devastating that is, and like share with the young people some of those feelings and how do you pivot? Because sometimes young people are very concerned that what they choose is something they have to stick with the rest of their lives. So help us understand kind of your thought process then.
Well, that was something living through now, not realizing. So originally I'm like, I was devastated because again, here I am, I'm smart, I'm intelligent. And so I'm going to be a college dropout. Like, oh, what a loser, you know? And I couldn't even like the thought of facing my parents who are super supportive parents, facing them to say, yeah, I want to drop out of college, you know, oh my gosh, that sounds terrible. I was nauseous about it. And it was quite an emotional roller coaster. And I braved it up and I talked to them and my dad just chuckled. He goes, okay, you're not happy. So change it. Change something about it. Even I just whatever you do in life, I want you to be happy. And that's what's most important because you got to do it. You got to go to work. You got to earn money. And if you're going to be miserable, no, do something different then. And even now, like if ever I mean, even today, like if ever I start griping about my job as well, are you unhappy? Do you need to change it? And so it's like, oh no, you know, so that's what it was, is making the realization that you were never too old to shift. You can, yeah, it stinks that I learned that lesson, a very expensive lesson, but I found out college wasn't for me and that's okay. I can do something different. Yes, I need to try to make sure to not make that expensive of a mistake in the future. But at the same time, it's all learning experiences. So even that's the one thing I encourage moving forward to any student, whether you're a year into college or you decide to go the trade route and you're a couple years into the trades or whatever path you choose, you can always change it. No matter what it is, you are never too old to learn a new skill. You're never too old to go to school and to learn a new something. You have to have the work ethic. You have to work for it. Yes, that will never change. But just because your age might be 20s or 50s, you can still do it. You can still learn it and you can still pursue something that will make you happy.
And I think if everybody could take that as such great wisdom already, that you're not stuck with one thing for the rest of your life. And you got to the end, like you said, made that change. And it's wonderful you had supportive parents.
Oh yeah.
So, and you had a dad who was already in the trades. Had that ever been encouraged? Have you been encouraged to do the trades, or you just knew because you had these grades and it was just kind of society expected the bright kids to go off to college? I mean, do you remember wrestling with that? Did you ever consider the trades before you went off to college?
No, I didn't and that's actually, even now it's a running joke with my dad that he goes, well, if I would have realized you were going to get in this trade, I would have taught you a lot better. Cause I was always my dad's right hand person growing up. So I have a younger sister. And so like on Saturdays when you're doing your family chores, well, and in my household, it was a stereotypical where mom did all like the inside stuff and did the cleaning and the whatever. So my sister helped her and my dad did like all the big outdoor chores. And so I was right next to him helping him haul. So I guess that's another reason why I was hands-on. And so I helped my dad. And so I grew up around like all the tools that I use now. I grew up using them, just not knowing what they actually were, because it was, oh, a pair of channel locks. Well, those are the blue handled things. And that crescent wrench, well, that's the black handled thing. He never actually even taught me the terminology of my tools that now on a daily basis I use. But I'm like, I've been using these since I was like 6 years old. But it never dawned on either of us that I would enjoy this. And I was so passionate. Again, because I was a tutorer, or however you pronounce that. But I tutored in high school and I loved it. And then, so even up until that certain point, I loved the small group teaching. I enjoyed that very much. But I realized once the bigger picture of teaching unfolded before me, I was like, I don't think I want to do this. So yeah, so it's just, I was always so driven myself. He never pushed or guided. It was just, hey, you got to do it for the rest of your life. You got to be happy. So as long as you can be happy in it, you'll show up to work every day because you got to get that paycheck because you got them bills to pay. So you got to be able to show up to work. And if you're miserable in work, you're not going to want to show up.
That's so true. So you went off and got this certification and training as a welder. And how did you get that first job? What was that transition like?
So then what I did is I went to the hall and I walked in and I said, hey, I went to Hobart and I'm a welder and I'd like to come in and be a part of your hall. Because I came in with a skill set, then I got to be taking a different route where they took to the weld booth, and we even still do this practice today. You get tested as a welder. And so I had to show them, I had to do a stick and a TIG weld. At that time, that's all they asked me to do. So I did a coupon and they look at it and they have what's called a CWI. It's a certified weld inspector, and they look at it and then they say, oh yeah, this person's a welder, or no, not. And then they decide from there what the next step is. And they would talk to our organizer. And then from there, you would potentially get hired in where there's a job opening. And so there's that process. So for me personally, again, I'm not necessarily a typical, but at that time it was a lull in the workforce. So I actually had to wait, I think it was about 9 months. So I was still working at a different job, but I also let that job know, like, hey, I'm trying to get into the union. So I might one day be like, hey, I'm sorry, but I quit. And I'm just letting you know now. And the job that I was at was more than willing to accept that as my employment, as a condition of my employment. And so I was working, and then, on a Friday it was, hey, the union gave me a call and said, hey, you got to go to Andy Egan and you're going to test for them. If you put down, if you do a weld and they like what you put down, then they're going to hire you. And if they don't, they're going to say, all right, thanks for showing up. So I answered that call. I went to Andy Egan and I did a weld test, and I got the job.
Well, there's a couple things I want to unpack about that, because
Okay.
some of us, and especially in West Michigan, it tends to be a non-union side of the state versus the east side is more union. So things like the hall or the organizer are terms that people might not understand. Could you give us just a quick kind of view of what that means when you're applying for jobs? Because you don't just see that on Indeed.com per se.
No, totally get that. So the hall that's where the UA is, the United Association, and that's your plumbers, pipe fitters, and your service trades. And that's part of my screen right now. You can see that's the UA emblem, and that's our jurisdiction map, that white area on the state of Michigan. That's what 174 is. So 174 is our particular local, which is that area. So if you live within that area, you would be part of 174. So the body itself, we have an actual building where we go, and that's actually today is my union meeting night. So I'll be going there tonight. And I also have a women's group. So I lead a women's group there. So I'll be there for that meeting as well. But what it is it's all of the, within our jurisdiction, all of the plumbers, pipe fitters, and service trade people that are unionized are a body. And so at current, I think our body is roughly 850 to 900, not quite 900, but over 850 of active members. We do have retirees that are not in that body count, but are still they're still part of our union. It's just they don't work anymore. So the people within our local that work in this area, you can come to union meetings where you can physically show up, and we have what is like a package deal. So technically I work currently, like I'm employed by Right Way Plumbing and Heating, but really it's my union is who sends me to Right Way. So it's kind of like I'm doing a terrible job of explaining this. I apologize, but it's kind of like a third party. So my actual employer that I work for is really the local 174. It's just Right Way kind of borrows me from the union and signs my checks, but it's really ultimately I'm a part of the bigger picture, which is the UA 174. So it's kind of like when you're working at McDonald's. So you got your master, McDonald's is the big name brand that everybody works for, but then you have all these little sub shops. And so I might work at McDonald's on the Beltline, but I'm still part of the whole McDonald's family type of deal. So that's how the UA works, is we're all part of the bigger picture, but we work for the smaller guys as well. So even though it's McDonald's, I don't know if that makes sense.
No,
I feel like I'm doing a terrible job.
Yeah, I think you did a great job. I understand how it works, but it's exactly how you said. You're part of the umbrella, and they're the ones that are placing you. They're your employment
Yes.
agency. It's just
Yes.
another way to look at it.
Yeah, an employment agency. And so
Yeah.
then like the organizer, so in our local, we have office people that work that run our union. So, and that's the main person is our business manager, and he's an elected official that every 3 years we elect. Currently it's Brother Ryan Bennett. And then he appoints business agents. Right now we have 2 business agents, and then he will appoint an organizer. And the organizer, what their job is that they actually will go out and reach out to communities or non-union shops or go to high schools, or so it's more about doing the outreach to try to get members in. And so like in my situation, when I came with a skill set is I went to the organizer saying, hey, I have a skill set and I would like to join the union, so that he helped me transition in. Now, typical, what we see more often is people coming from high school wanting to apply, which then I think it's once every 2 years. So once every other spring, they do a hiring event. And so it's, you come in, you can apply online, and then there's a whole process of, there's a basic mechanical and math test that they administer. And then there's an interview, I believe. And so, and then they take that and they evaluate all these people that reach out and want to apply. And I think they even take, you have to have it, because you have to have a GED or a high school diploma. You have to have graduated high school. And they'll evaluate the people based on their test scores and their interview process. And then they rank them. And then after they rank them over the next 2 years, they take off of that ranking list to hire over the next 2 years. And busy times, they might hire more classes, and on slower times, they might not take as many, because we have to make sure that we're turning, that it's a whole process too of you start school and now you start school again.
So I want to, and I want to have you show some of the great pictures, because we've talked a lot about your path and even what the union is, but I know there's young people on this call, and maybe some of the counselors too, that are like, what is a Steamfitter? So we need to tell them what a Steamfitter is, but as you're showing some of your slides, help them understand the process of an apprenticeship too, because that is a word that many people don't know.
Okay. So, a steam fitter, what I get to do is I get to build cool stuff and use my mind and my body while I do it. So mostly what I focus on, and you'll see some of the focus on, is I weld. So I'm a certified welder. Some of these welds, like the one picture with the big carbon steel one, in the positioner. So the black one. That one actually is a hydraulic line, which is a high pressure, high temperature, very big stress. It's a crucial weld, because this stuff, what goes through here and the machines that it's on, it is just, so these go under a lot of stress. So you have to be certified specialty in order to do this weld, because of the safety factor of it. Because if there were to be a leak in this line, it's oil coming out at a high pressure and high temperature. I mean, that's an explosion waiting to happen. So that's something that I get to do, and I get to be, hey, I'm a big deal. And I get to do stainless stuff, which is the silver weld. There are times where I end up being on big equipment. So, and I have to be high up in the air and outside. I even work on plastic pipe. So it's, the cool thing about the steam fitter is I run systems. So if water goes through it, natural gas, propane, food, right now, currently I'm working at Schreiber Foods, which they produce muscle milk. So, so food goes through pipe that I work on, steam, and we just do ventilation or waste. And so it's just anything that's round, I put it together and make the systems work. Sometimes we handle equipment. So your cooling towers, your, condensing units. I've just put that picture right there is actually of a tower that, has cow milk at Leprino Food. So it's, that's where they make mozzarella cheese. So it's a wide variety, but the best way to put it is if it's a piece of pipe, I put it together and make it work. And I make the systems work. So whether it's the equipment side or just the pipe side of it. So it's pretty cool. I also do, We also do what's called rigging. And so this is actually on my current job site. They have these huge tanks that can't fit through a door. So what are we going to do? So they actually had to take the roof off of this new building, and fly these tanks in up over the top of the roof. And so you can actually even see on the one picture is one of my coworkers on a lift, helping the guys rig this up, for the cranes. But and there's man lifts. And so we actually help deal with heavy equipment. I drive Skytrax and forklifts. I drive the all-terrain man lifts. I drive the scissors lifts inside buildings. So I get to be kind of a heavy equipment operator as well, to add to my list of this is cool. So, my kids love it. My boys are, oh, look at the cool machines that mom gets to drive. So
Did you have to do additional training? Because operator engineers is its own union and its own skill set. Did you learn on the job? How does that work?
that is on the job training. And that is okay. So like the cranes would not be something because that's an extra level, and that would be that union. So the heavier equipment, so I get like the baby heavy equipment, and the big heavy equipment, that's the heavy equipment union. So like those lifts I can do, but that crane, oh no, I couldn't get in that one. The Skytrack I can do, because again, that's on the job as part of my job, that they can do on the job training for that. But once you get into the really heavy equipment stuff, then no, that's beyond me. But that's also too, that's one of the things too, you got to imagine like that equipment. Could you imagine the damage you could do if you weren't a skilled operator with that tank swinging through? Could you I can imagine the havoc that could be wreaked with that if you didn't know how to handle that properly. So I would want to do it. So yeah, you have to have specialty training in that.
So I think one of the things as I see this work, which again, it's fascinating to think of you helping make all these systems work. What are some of the myths around skilled trades when parents are like, well, I don't want my kids to go into skilled trades, or because they just don't know what it is, but what are some of the things you want to address? Like, this is paying a really good wage, and I'll let you kind of show your pictures, but kind of help dispel some of that for us as you talk.
My favorite is IR dumb, and I say this all the time. Oh, IR dumb welder. It's just, oh, I'm a dumb blue collar person. Like, oh, I don't know anything. And that kind of makes me chuckle, because that's where some of the blue collar work out there, and mine in particular, you just think, oh, he's just a dumb plumber or dumb welder, because again, dumb, just because I didn't go to, I went to college, but just because to get to my trade and get to my level in my trade, I didn't have to attend college, does not make me dumb. And I would love to see some guys show up, even that are college educated, or some women try to show up on my job and do what I do for a living. Like it is a learned thing, and I have to work very hard to get where I'm at. The one close well that I showed off, like that TIG weld in front of you, that you don't just pick that up. That's a lot of education. That is a lot of years of practice right there. And there's that picture of all the right next to it with those like, you would not believe the math that goes into that. Like I said, I'm a numbers person, so I'm eating it up. But those are all on a specialty angle. They're rolled and there's pitch to it. And there's so much math to these things. And even when you talk about these cranes, that's all these air handling units that are getting swung up, even just being a participant of getting this on and off a roof safely, and being able to realize the hazards that you're in. There's hazards in our work environment, and just we are not just a bunch of stupid people. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I hear is like, you're just like, you wouldn't last.
Yeah, I think that's when because we have school counselors on the call today too. And so when you hear that kids are good with math, I really hope that they'll take some of this away today, that it's not being an accountant or, going into business. It's if they're good with their hands, like to be outdoors, these are the kind of jobs that we need. Go ahead. I just want to let you know we have about 4 minutes left, but help us understand why we should help young people really explore these opportunities.
Well, that right there is in and of its sense. It's like, okay, so my job can be very hard. My job can be very dirty. But nine times out of 10, I would take you couldn't pay me to leave my job. I love what I do. And even like in that picture, there's times where I'm burning rod all next to, several other guys, or I'm in a really cruddy spot. But at the same time, like with my hood down, burning that rod or welding that TIG weld out, like I'm happy. I'm in my home, and it's so cool being able to build stuff and make things work and come together. Like whenever I'm at the store and I can see Gerber baby food, I had a part in that. Ice Mountain Water, I've worked there and I had a part in that. Founders Brewer had a expansion. I was a part of that. And there was an expansion of the prison. I was a part, and like being able to see my work matter. And like, that's where, and again, where it's just like, oh, you're just, just the welder. There's an expansion on the airport. Like my work is out and living and breathing and existing. And it makes me like, I'm just so excited. So, and it's just, I'm so passionate about it, and it's so fun. And most of the time, like I said, and you have a chance to learn and to grow and to enjoy your stuff. One of the other things is I'm kind of artsy, so I like to do fun stuff too. So all of a sudden, not only do I have a cool career, but I kind of have a really cool hobby out of it too. And, so it's just, it's really fun to have that and to be passionate about that. And I love my job.
So with our friends, I would love for you to help if a young person was like, man, this might be something I really like. Do you do job shadows? Would they get kind of on site to kind of get a feel for that? I know last week they had a Michigan construction careers event in Howell, Michigan. That was amazing. I was able to attend. So do you do anything within the union to get kids little?
We do, and we actually just had it. We had like a whole open house for high schoolers and for tech centers, and we do outreach as well. But so that's where, and do try to do some of like these career chats and job fairs. And we had it where we opened our halls for the kids to come in and to see like our booths and what our apprentices are learning. And so that's one of the things we do, that kind of stuff. Also, you can always look on our website, which is ua174.org, which I'll throw the last slide really quick. But and just so you know, this is a little clip just for people to be able to look at this for money wise, because money always is very motivating. This is actually on our website too, that you can really look at the breakdown of what you're getting into in order to be in our union. But yeah, that website right there is something that you can look into, and they'll have open houses, or you can always call and talk to somebody. The unfortunate thing is we can't do the job shadow because it is a safety issue. Because what we do, is, it sometimes can be kind of dangerous. And so, yeah, we can't just have random people on our job sites. So as much as I would love that it would be a really cool experience. It's just not, but being able to look at some of this stuff is the outlet that we have.
Yeah, and I guess I just want to let students know who are on this, or their school counselors, there's a lot more activity going on for the trades, or trying to educate young people about it. So really keep your eyes out for those career fairs or those hosted events where they're giving you hands-on opportunities to do this. So lots of YouTube videos out there of what these different trades are, TikTok videos of what this is. So do your
TikTok too, apparently. I didn't realize that. So if you do 174, I think UA 174 on TikTok. Our business manager has a TikTok going on.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
Well, our time, we have about 30 seconds left, and you've been a great role model. I've learned a lot today too. But Nicole,
thank you so much.
What's your final word of wisdom to young people who want to have a good living and are smart and want to use their hands and have those tangible results around town? What do you want them to know?
Join a trade. Oh my gosh, look into a trade. By all means, come join mine, because mine's pretty awesome. And if you want to, by all means, reach out to me if you have any questions, any way I can help. I would love to help. But yeah, I just, if you have an inkling of wanting to join a trade, just do it. It's not, you can always change your mind. Just do something that will make you happy, because that's the most important thing in life. Absolutely. And we did talk about it, but I want to thank you again, but look up apprenticeships. That is a typical way that a lot of these trades happen. So learn about apprenticeships. It's 4-year commitment, typically, no college debt. You're getting raises every 6 months. So she went in through a special certification, but check that out, everybody. Thank you so much, Nicole. Thank you.